Hey, Lakisha, how are you doing?
Hello, how are you? I'm great.
I'm so good. Thank you. So, we brought you on because we wanted you to share all your tips and secrets about how to market your program to daycares so that they can have a quality preschool program within their daycare. And you seem to be the expert on that topic. So, we wanted to find out all the ins and outs. But before we do that, let's dive back a minute and say, like, where were you before you had this idea to market your program to daycares?
I was working in a daycare, which is what I still do. So I own a home daycare, I own an enrichment center, and I homeschool as well. Um, I the pandemic happened, and when the pandemic happened, some programs were closed. My program was an essential program, so I was opened back up almost immediately. And we had distance learning within the schools. Those kids were in our program, so we did tutoring and all kinds of virtual things were going on at that time. And we already have, like my program, our enrichment program, we already were doing virtual tutoring prior to the pandemic. And so it just seemed like something that could be done. It was something that I've always wanted to do, not necessarily market it to be the one to teach it in the program, into the centers, but knowing that working in childcare, especially for family childcare programs, it's imperative to have like an amazing curriculum or to have an amazing team to be able to teach because it's mixed age groups. And so you have your infants that you're wanting them to meet their milestones, and then you have your toddlers that you're trying to potty train and give words to, and then you have your preschoolers that you really want to prep before they go off to kindergarten, and trying to do all that plus balancing what the state requires with all the paperwork is really, really hard. So my goal was to create something that I could help other programs to be as amazing as we all envisioned ourselves to be. I grew up in my aunt's home daycare. One of my other aunts works with me in my program. One of my other aunts is actually a part of my virtual programs, and so I do virtual in her program, and she's out in North Carolina. Um, so it was needed, and I am excited to do it. I know that it you just see the families and the providers, you see them light back up and they're happy. It relieves a lot of stress because it's not a lot of thinking on their part. So
So, your program that you're currently running,
mhm.
do you offer your online program to your current program so that that allows you to also have a break during that, 30 minutes or so during the day, or are you teaching live all the time with your current students that you have? I just want to see, how does your program run?
So we have current students that are in our program, and we're teaching live with those current students here.
Got it.
And
Okay,
those
and
kids,
then
if they miss like a day of preschool and they're not coming in, all the parents have the link and they're always welcome to join. My only request for them when a parent joins to see what their kids are doing, to keep their cameras off and their mics muted. Other
great.
than that, they can always join to see what the kids are doing. And I encourage all of our programs to do the same with their parents, because that's something that helps the parents see what their kids are doing and they're going to buy into it because you're offering them something. We sometimes have parents join, sometimes we don't. I get that everybody works and everybody doesn't always have that flexibility, but our kids are in person and then we do virtual all at the same time.
Okay, perfect. So you're running your program,
Mhm.
and then you say, now it's time for us to do our virtual program. So you're filming your kiddos in your place doing some activity with adults. Yes?
Correct. We're
Okay.
paying them, but we have the way my program is set up is probably different than how other. I'm not sure how. I don't know if other programs are doing the same thing or not. The way my program is set up, everything that we have within our program, all of our other programs have as well. So I ship kits out. So last
Mhm.
week we carved pumpkins. Every program had a pumpkin. We went on a virtual pumpkin patch field trip. Every program got everything that they needed to be able to go on that field trip, so that when we're doing these things, we're doing it all at the same time. They all get a list of, okay, you need this, 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 and this for this. Or in your kit, you have this, and these are what are needed for this class that occurs on this day. And
Yeah.
so when we cut our pumpkins, we talked about the pumpkins and we described what it feels like, what it smells
Mhm.
like, all the different things. But each child had a pump that had, pumpkins present within their programs. And so as we're cutting the pumpkins and we're pulling out the pumpkin seeds and we're talking about, oh, how does that feel? Is it ooey gooey? And just talking about all these things. Each program is doing the same exact thing. And so it's almost like all these kids are in a class. However, Some are in Maryland, some are in South Carolina, some are North Carolina, some are Indianapolis, some are Ohio. So they're kind of all over. But to the kids, they're all right there. Like when they
Yeah.
see their friends on virtual, they're like, "Hi, how are you today?" They're excited. So
So
everybody
let's
has the
yeah.
same thing though. But
Okay, perfect. I got it. So everybody's so you've got the camera and are you just like taking your Zoom webcam and then flipping it around to just face the
I
kiddos?
use two devices. So I have my camera and then I have my iPhone. And my
Mhm.
iPhone has a separate link. And so it looks like another user is logged in on it.
Okay.
So we use both of those because it gets different shots. So when we're doing our calendar time,
Yeah.
or when we're doing our music and movement, we do freeze dance and we do stretching and all kinds of different things. We put the camera on the kids so that the other kids that are on virtual can see our kids moving and we're all dancing and acting silly with them as well. And so we have two cameras going at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
Occasionally, depending on what we're doing, we may have three devices going at the same time.
So let me for everybody who's like trying to picture how this works, my guess is you make your second device a co-host in Zoom. Yes, or are you just pinning the or just sharing the screen and pinning or
Sometimes I just pin it and they can
okay.
see it. Sometimes we have like how me and you are in the middle on my
Yeah.
screen. We have everyone in the middle. Sometimes I share the screen. It depends on what activity. While we're talking, I'm gonna see if I can get one of my little Zoom things to pop up so you guys can actually have an idea. I don't know why I didn't think
Yeah.
about that ahead of time, but that would have
No,
been
that's okay. So everyone, while you're thinking about this, basically once you're in Zoom, if
Mhm.
you hover over yourself or something like that, there's 3 dots, and if you click on it, or maybe it's over in your participant's name, I don't know, but anyways, click the more button or something, and it's always says like add pin. So you could add a pin to your image, just like both of us are pinned right now, so you can see both of us. Um, and then it's just whatever camera feed or sharing screen or whatever you want to be seen to the kiddos, you just pin that on the screen there, so multiple, like you said, could be seen by the kiddos.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, so now the other clarifying question, let's say that you are, so where are you at, what state?
I'm in Maryland.
Maryland, okay. And let's say we've got a Pennsylvania daycare that is, logging in and watching your Zoom. They got their pumpkins in front of them. Now, are they watching it on a laptop? Are they somehow getting it onto a main computer or a main, TV screen? How do they handle
So
the tech to get it?
each program does it differently. Some
Mhm.
programs do it on computers. Some programs have the big iPads.
Okay.
Um, a lot of the programs have a TV. They have the TVs mounted in their room in the daycare area and they stream it up there. Sometimes I'll send them a link via Facebook because it's easier for them with the
Mm,
smart TVs to click on that link to get in. And sometimes they just use their phone and get in and they stream it from their phone and kind of
yeah.
do the mirror share. Um,
Okay.
Stream it onto the TV for them.
Perfect. Okay, so now everybody's got their pumpkins. They're watching the screen. They're super excited. They see the kiddos there, and they see some more Zoom friends, etc.
Mhm.
Um, but they're not being filmed, right? In
They
Pennsylvania, they're not.
They
They
are.
are.
All of my programs that are up there have a release. Now, I do have some programs that do not go on live with us because they don't have photo or video releases.
Got it.
So for those programs, one of them occasionally comes on and they never turn their camera on. We can just hear
Mm.
in the background. They never turn their camera on because they
Yeah.
may have between 8 and 10 students in that class, but only two of them have a photo and film release. And so
Yeah.
just for safety and legal reasons, we
Yeah.
just keep their camera off. Um,
Right.
the other programs that don't have anyone in their program with that, we do a session and it's recorded and we send it to them. And so
Got it.
they're doing the pre-recorded sessions, but the recorded sessions are our actual live sessions. And so when we're pausing and we're reading and we're talking, their kids are engaging with us as if we're all there with them. And it looks a little different than us doing a pre-recorded session with
Yeah.
just me in a room by myself. And so
Yeah.
the response is a little bit different. The kids enjoy it a lot better. And we're hoping that some of those parents will see some of that and be comfortable with why we're wanting the photo and video releases.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I love that. And so they're able to do these classes. You do them once a day?
We do them twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
And what kind of things would you do during that time?
So we started off with our good morning song. Every morning we have a good morning song that we sing. It's the same one. We begin our session with our good morning song, and then we end our session with our goodbye song.
Mm.
So we started off with that. Our sessions are an hour long. I know a lot of people do 20 to 30 minutes. We do an hour, and we have not had an issue with losing the kids' attention.
Yeah.
So within that hour session, we do our calendar time. We do some stretching after that. We get up and move around, and then we may sit down and do a book or cover a specific lesson or something that we're working on. And once we're done with that, every transition is movement. So then we get up and we move around again, and then we do another activity. And if it's an art activity, everybody has everything for the art activity. And then we get up and we move around again. And that's kind of how our session goes. And so it varies day to day depending on what our theme is and what we're learning about. But we make sure that we incorporate movement. I encourage them to keep their mics on. I want to hear the kids crying and talking and asking questions, because I think that for some of the programs, it's a great teaching skill for the teachers to learn how to appropriately redirect,
Mm.
encourage the children to do what it is that they need them to do without muting and, saying things that they wouldn't say with the mics on. So we
Sure.
encourage them to keep it on. Now, if there is a lot of screaming and crying and things like that, obviously I mute them on my end. And
Sure.
once they know, they realize they're muted, then they calm their crowd down, and then and
Yeah.
things like that. And things happen, they're kids.
Sure.
Um, we also have within that program, I have my infants and stuff. So some days I have drop-in kids because I
Mm.
still run my daycare. And
Yeah.
so some days we may have 2 students, some days we may have 8 students that are in person, plus we're doing all of that. But I have 2 staff members that are typically here with me while we're doing that.
Mm.
So it works out really well for us.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'd love to do. I was thinking it'd be super fun if we could do like a role play, a totally pretend mock thing where let's pretend I'm the daycare owner,
Okay.
and how would I find you? Like how would we connect first off? And then we're going to pretend like you are trying to pitch me and sign me up to your amazing online program so I can add value to my daycare kiddos. But first off, before we get there, how would I even hear about you? Is it flyers? Is it online marketing? How do we find out? How do people find out about your services?
So they find out right now, it's all pretty much word of mouth. I do have online flyers. People do find me virtually. My website, I don't think it likes me, to be completely honest. I'm really struggling with making it do what I need it to do. But with that being said, it not being up and running hasn't affected me at all because
Yeah.
I'm still doing great. So, but I do want to get that fixed. I want
Yeah.
to. So right now they can find me on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram. But a lot of it is word of mouth. They
Mm.
may know a program that is utilizing some of my services because we do a lot of different things, not just our virtual stuff. And so a lot of times the people that contact me are contacting because I also write curriculums.
Yeah.
And so the curriculums that we use are our own curriculums. And I write and sell curriculums for other daycares as well.
Yeah.
And then we do tutoring. And so they may be contacting for another service and say, well, hey, do you do this too? Or I heard you do this. And so that's typically how they find me.
Perfect. And then what is your first point of like what's your call to action? Do you typically say, "Hey, call me or email me or
I
book a time on my
typically,
calendar?"
if I typically have them email me first, um, because I like to know what they want, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So some people are interested, but they're not. They just want to know what you're doing so they can shoot it down. Um, and I've experienced a ton of that. And so I like for them to email first, because if they email first, you can kind of gauge the tone of, okay, are you wanting a service or are you wanting to tell me that what I'm doing is so awful and I'm taking things away from the public school system? And
Wow.
so we get all those. So
Wow.
I encourage email first because it narrows down
Protects your time.
how I need to respond to things.
Mhm.
It makes
Okay.
it yep. So after
Okay.
you email me and I read the email, if it's someone that is interested, then I will message them back and say, hey, thank you for reaching out to me. I'm definitely looking forward to speaking with you. Can you please respond with a good contact number and at least 2 dates and times that work for you so that I can find out what works for my schedule so that we can speak via the phone or via Zoom or
Yeah.
whatever is going to be your best method. And they typically respond immediately if they're interested. And when they respond, I let them talk about their daycare first.
Okay.
And they tell me all the things that they like or don't like about what they're doing with daycare. I want to know what their struggles are with it, because our goal
Mhm.
should be to be able to get in there and alleviate some of those struggles if they're something dealing with academic or entertainment or something like that for the kids.
Mhm.
And so after they share that, then we kind of move forward based on that.
Okay, so let's go there. So
Okay.
let's say, so I reached out to you, I sent you an email, and I'm like, "Hey, I heard about you through so and so. Yeah, I'm really struggling. I'd really like to, probably have a program, but I need to know more about it." You email, you're like, "Hey, cool, these times." And then we get on, let's say, a Zoom. So it's kind of like this. So
Hmm.
here we are on the Zoom, and your first question to me, would it be like, "Tell me about your daycare," or what is that kind of first probing question?
Tell me about your daycare.
Okay, that's it. Tell me about your daycare. I like that because it allows them to figure out where that they want to start that combo. So that's great. So if I was, sharing about my daycare, how uh it's really, I don't have the words, but let's pretend that I'm really struggling with getting like the academic program because like you said, I guess let's do this. Let's do this. Let's back up for 1 second. Why don't you tell us, because I can't make up the words, what are the biggest pain points for daycares, because if we know the pain points, right, then that's going to help us to create solutions, yeah, and to market. So in your opinion, you've talked to all these daycares, what are their biggest pain points?
Their biggest pain point is typically academics and family engagement. If they have an amazing curriculum within their program, but their parents are not carrying these things over at home,
Ah,
it's almost pointless because the
gotcha.
kids are not getting it. Because the reality, we all know that if it's important to if for the kids, if it's important to us, then it becomes important to the kids.
Hmm.
They're excited about it because we're excited. And so if we're not excited about learning, they're not interested in it. And so some parents send their kids off to daycare and they just think you wave a magic wand, their kids come out super smart. But they're
Yeah.
not doing anything to reinforce any of that at home. So those kids don't develop an interest or a love to learn.
Hmm.
And they struggle in school because they didn't like it from the beginning because nobody told them it was really important and that it's actually amazing. So
Hmm.
they struggle. So that's the biggest two things are academics. Like some programs don't know where to begin with academics. Their mindset or vision on what a child should know at 4 and 5 is way different than what certain school systems are doing for the kids that are going in at 4 and 5. Some of them are way above, which is awesome, but some of them are way below, which is kind of unfair to the kids. And so
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Some programs, they don't want to buy the big curriculums because
Mm.
it's too much work to cut everything out, to laminate, to organize, to write a lesson plan, to do all those things. They don't want to do that. They just want to have fun with the kids. And so a lot of times those programs are telling me they're losing their kids at age 3 because
Because they're taking them to a place that says we're an early childhood education center. Is it kind of that direction where people go?
yep, they're taking them somewhere that's going to be more academically enriching.
Right.
And so, and then you have some of the programs that, like I said, have amazing curriculums, but their parent engagement is awful.
Mm.
And so, because of that, those kids are coming in late. They're not getting any sleep at night. Their diets are crappy. There's so many things that are going on because the parents are really using it as a babysitting service versus
Right.
it's a childcare program where your kids should be learning. So,
Can you solve that though? I mean, if you've got parents who are really using it as a babysitting service, et cetera, right?
mhm.
Are you educating the parents and trying to elevate like with their knowledge? Or is it kind of like, do you bridge that gap? I guess is the question with your curriculum.
We did last year. We have not this year. Our goal is to start again in January. So we
Okay.
took your preschool pals that you created
Yeah.
and we kind of kept the name and changed it a bit because
Mhm.
it was catchy and the kids loved it and the parents were interested.
Oh, yeah.
So we went with it. And they're like, what's preschool pals? So last year we did preschool pals Wednesday nights at 7 p.m.
Hmm.
My virtual families all over, they got up there. We had an hour session. Actually, our session started, I think, at 6:45
Mhm.
so that the littles could get up there. The little kids, we call them the littles, but so that they could get up there. And so we would send an email out that Monday or the Wednesday before with their homework assignment for that Wednesday night session. parents were excited to do a homework activity with their child to present for that.
Mm.
It also bridged the gap between the parent and the providers, because the providers were on these Zooms, parents were on these Zooms, my parents were on these Zooms, their children were on these Zooms. And so we started off with circle time, a quick circle time, a review of what we were doing. The kids were excited to show mom and dad what they had been doing in school. The
Yeah.
teachers, providers knew what papers to send home in the kids' folders for the kids to
Yeah.
share. So everybody kind of worked together to
Mm.
bridge that gap. Now, again, I do things different because I've experienced a lot, and I have 3 kids that I homeschool, and I homeschool because I'm not impressed with what goes on in the schools. So,
Yes.
a lot of the things I do, my goal is always the kids, the kids, the kids. I need them to win every time. And
Mm.
so, this may not be feasible for every program to do, but for me, there was nothing lost. My program's open till midnight, so it's nothing for me to get up here on a Zoom
Yeah.
to do something like that. The kids loved it. The parents loved it. We did our session. We talked. We learned. They did their show and share, and then the kids all went off to play or do whatever they did. And then we opened the floor up like the last 20 or 30 minutes for the parents to communicate with each other, to talk, um,
Mm.
questions, concerns. Our biggest topic was our biggest topic that kept coming back up was my kid doesn't want to wear socks, and how do we get them to brush their teeth? They won't take the toothpaste. They don't
Great.
like it. And so we had discussions about all of these things. And what
Yeah.
we found were that unintentionally parents are really mean to parents.
Mm.
But we unintentionally, but amazingly created a platform where they could talk and they didn't feel so judged. And
Mm.
so they went from just being really quiet and us being the only ones talking and giving input to saying, well, my kid did this and this is what we tried. Have you tried this? And so then they were building a better relationship. And then some of the parents were like, wait, you take your kids where on the weekends? You do this? Oh, well, we have,
Oh, good.
we're
So you're
starting.
just using modeling. You're like, it's not like you're just straight teaching. It's almost using models of parents who are being effective and doing some great tips, and they're able to like, help mentor some people who didn't know these things, right?
And so we had one parent that talked about her kid having tantrums all the time. So another parent was like, well, she wants to be the queen. She wants to be the boss. That's her temperament, and you have to go with that. And then she was like, my daughter's like that. So when we get
Mhm.
home, the first 10 minutes of us being home, she's the boss. We do whatever she wants. When that timer goes off and her 10 minutes are up, that's it. But it
Yeah.
helps because we don't have those battles anymore. And so they were giving this input to each other. And I was like, I never thought about that, but that's actually pretty cool. And
Yeah.
her kid would come in every day, and it was one of my daycare kids, and she was like, "Well, I'm the boss at home." Mommy says, "I'm the boss at home," and I was like, "Okay, well, you can't be the boss at school, but you can be the boss at home. If mommy loves it, Miss Keisha loves it." And
Right.
so when she shared that, I was like, "Oh, that's what she's talking about. Okay, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool." Yeah.
Okay. So we heard all about the pain points, and that really helped to understand. So now, after I shared all my pain points and you just helped to alleviate a lot of them, a natural next question would be like, well, tell me more about what you provide, right? So, like, kind of what's in it for me? What do I get to be able to help my daycare kiddos that have some issues like this?
Yep. So we have different kits that cost different things, and I really try to cater on a case by case basis with what programs are needing. Some programs will need more. I have a program that doesn't go on virtual, but I send them things, and their program is all special needs kids.
Hmm.
So it's different for them. It's the same thing, but we make sure that we over focus on the language because a lot of them are nonverbal. I
Yeah.
also have training in sign language and PECS communication. And so we incorporate some of those things in the activities that we ship to that program because
Mm.
that's helpful for them and that alleviates their stress. And if they're not stressed, then they can do better with those kids.
Yeah.
Um, but typically for our programs, we typically offer they have their starter kit that has just the basic things that they're going to need. They have a little container that has their binder and their worksheets and their laminated sheets, their writing utensils that they're going to need, a dry erase board that they'll need for the session, their Play-Doh that they're going to need for the session and things like that, their scissors.
Mhm.
And we have different kits. We have a monthly kit that goes out, and the monthly kit has any worksheets that we're going to be doing, any recipes, any supplies. Like last year, around I think it was right before Christmas. It was around Christmas. We made cookies. So each program got a packet with cookies, like the cookie mix and the
Yeah.
cookie cutters,
Uh-huh.
everything that they needed that was dry and safe to ship.
Mm.
They each had those that were sealed for each student. All their art activities were sealed in a little packet for them. All their worksheets were together for them, hole punched, ready for them to put in their
Yeah.
binders. I want them to know how to build the portfolios for the kids as well.
Great. Yeah.
So those things go out monthly. Whatever our theme is, those things go out. Some
Mhm.
programs struggle with doing lesson plans. So we write it for them,
Mm.
put it in there. And so everything is fee based on what you need. We have flat rates for things, but then they vary depending on, excuse me, on what you're needing.
Yeah. So like let's say that I wanted like an online program. Maybe I don't want my curriculum written, but I'm like Tuesday, Thursday I want to be there with you. I want to have the pumpkin shipped to me and, anything else you offer for an online program add-on. What would that cost and what would I get?
That would be 75 a month per student.
Great. Okay, 75 a month per student. Showing up Tuesday, Thursday, live with you for an hour. Any other things that they would get?
They would get access to online platforms. So we do reading eggs. Excuse me for one second. I have a
Sure.
cough that's about to come. Hold on.
No worries.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. So everyone pay attention really quick. $75 per month per student, okay? Now, her amazing thing is that she let me go ahead and bounce off here. So the great thing is that she's going where the students are. That's like the kicker here. A lot of times we struggle with, how do I sign up students? But sometimes it's even beyond that. It's how do I find the students? Okay. Well, she's going to like the actual market where all the students are. The daycares have already found the students. They've already built the know like trust factor with their parents. Parents are already and this is a good question that I'll be asking her is like, well, who pays for it? Is it the daycare? Because if the daycare is paying the 75, I would assume it's the daycare because I imagine she probably doesn't want to contract with like all these gazillion parents, but contract one time with a daycare and you get, their 20 students, right? 20 children or some such. Here, let me add you back.
Okay.
Let's ask you this. Are you so the bill goes to the daycare and the daycare is paying you the 75 per child?
Mhm. And then
Perfect.
I have individual students in my program too.
Say that again.
I have individual students in my program
Got
too
it. Okay.
for parents
Yeah.
that are home. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So not of course you can continue to add it to anybody, right? Because that's great. But then I was explaining how you just go to the daycares because they're the ones with all the students, and you can just sign up a bunch of kids at one time because they're not just going to sign up only Johnny and Jill, like they're going to sign up the whole class. Now, how do you pitch it to them? Because I'm like, okay, well, I've got 10 students in my program, 75, ooh, wow, that's 750 a month, like when we have that price barrier or that price like kind of kick back a little bit, what do you say to me to help me get over that? How do I see the importance? Do I raise my rates? What do I how can I get over that?
Some of my some of my programs actually give the bill to the parents.
Hmm.
Some
Okay.
of the programs split the bill with the parents.
Oh,
Some of the programs eat the cost because, as we know, if we're doing anything for our business, it's a tax write off for your
right.
business.
Yes.
So some of them eat the cost for the first couple months, and then they let the parents know, hey, we're doing this program. And it's just like if you're doing the scholastics little things and they charge the parents that, they
Yeah.
say, you pay this portion, we pay this portion. And this is what
Okay.
it is, and the whole class joins. It's not
Nice.
oh, I don't want my kid to join. No, this is what we're doing. So this is what you're doing.
Ah,
So
great.
that's how they do it. I haven't had any programs say, oh my, it's cost wise, it's too much. And we have centers and we have home daycares
Mhm.
that are all a part of it. But again, they work on it on their end by either eating the cost of it and filing it on their taxes or splitting it with the parents,
Yeah.
giving all of it to the parents.
Yeah. I think too, if we remember that if we're adding more value to our program to increase the, level of premium education we're offering to these students, we can raise our tuition rates if we need to eat the cost. Okay. So we could do that. Another thing is remembering, hey, how much does that kiddo, how much is one student worth to you over the life that they're with you? Is that 5 years, right? And if you lose them at 3, how much are you losing out on?
Exactly.
So 75 is nothing. 75 per month is nothing compared to what you will lose when you have to fill his spot or, if you're sitting on an empty spot. So
Yep,
you can also kind of like do that comparison as well.
absolutely.
Okay, so now, so like, okay, that sounds great, and we get that, and we get everything shipped to us. Is there anything outside of the Tuesday, Thursday program plus all the materials? Like, do they get access to the hub or extra add-ons, or it's just nope, we're going to show up every Tuesday, Thursday?
So we do Tuesday, Thursday. Our goal is to start adding a couple pre-recorded sessions in there. We're not there yet. Because I haven't figured all of that
Yeah,
life out yet.
yeah.
So
Okay.
that's our goal, to add that. But they do
Great,
have access to other online platforms if they choose. Like we have Reading Eggs, we have Happy Numbers, we have Study
awesome.
Island, we
Great.
have Movie Max, and so they can pick, or ABC Mouse, they can pick what they want
Mhm.
as an add-on for that as well.
Cool.
They do
Okay.
that. Yeah, and then what else do we get then? Um, Aside from that, we, like I said, we'll be bringing back our preschool pals again.
Mhm. Nice. And so then if I was like, "Okay, that sounds great," how do I sign up? So, do you send like, how do you do your billing? Because like you said, some go out to the parents. How do you manage all that?
So I build the daycare. The daycare figures out where they're going to get their money from.
Got it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so smart. You do it like weekly or per session, or this is your monthly per child, and so you're gonna pay the entire month now? How do you do that?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. It's all done at the beginning of the month.
Great.
Pay at the beginning. My families have already paid for November.
Okay, because of course you have to ship their materials, so you need that money up front.
Yep.
Okay.
And so now, if I have a program that needs to split it, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Mhm.
But I'm not shipping all their material. You're
Ah,
going to get half. So if you're going to do a payment on the 1st and the payment on the 15th, then you'll get supplies up to the 15th.
yep.
Then if you want the other half, then I need you to release the funds so that I can send you the other.
Release the funds, I love that. Do you feel that it's an easier sell, or perhaps it's the exact same
It's
sell regardless, for centers or home daycares? Like, who do you feel like if we were gonna go to this group first, center daycares make the most sense, or home daycares? Like, which one is the most in need of this service and the most excited to sign up and just like, "Here's my money."
I can't really say which one. I've had equal responses from both. It's really, really hard.
Yeah, that's great. Oh,
Really,
that's even better.
really hard. You can find 50 daycares that are interested, but they never contact you. After that first initial email, they were just interested enough to inquire,
Hmm,
and then they become a ghost. Until later on, they'll say, "Hey, I saw your content. I'm really thinking about joining this time," and they may circle back around. But it
mhm,
definitely is hard. I haven't found that one is easier than the other.
mhm,
Both of them are in need. What I have found is that depending on the program, the type of program, I'm going to say this
mhm.
carefully. Um, Depending on the type of program, sometimes the centers seem more overwhelmed because there's less structure. It's almost like a kid warehouse. Like
Sure.
nobody's really paying attention to whether the kids are learning or not. They're just counting kids like, oh, we made this amount of money and
Yeah, yeah,
just
gotcha.
focusing on that. Whereas the home daycares, they're overwhelmed, but they're overwhelmed because we are treated like a center. We have the same guidelines that we have to uphold.
Mhm.
We have a cap of a certain amount of kids that we can have, which that caps our income.
Yeah,
Um, and the centers can have, between 60 and 100 and something kids, and we're capped between 8 and 12 kids. And so
yeah.
it makes it really hard for us because we want to do it and we need to fill every space so that we can survive to do whatever it was that started us on that journey.
Mhm,
So it's overwhelming in that aspect. And then we have mixed ages. The centers have the same age and they may have 10 to 15 students that are the same age. But for
mhm.
us, if we have infants all the way up to 4-year olds and you have a child with a different ability, then you've got a little bit of chaos. And a lot
Yeah,
of fun, but a little bit of chaos.
yeah.
So it's I think it's challenging. They're all in need from what I've seen.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's just recap here for everybody who's listening, and then we gotta bounce off. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I know we went a little bit over. Um, so what we have is the concept is this, like, and I think just everybody focus on how simple this can be to do this. You as the provider provide two, 1 hour classes, maybe Tuesday, Thursday, whenever works for you, honestly, 1 hour classes, and you go live and now you could be the only person, but of course you could also have students of your own, right? But anyways, and then you ship out the materials to, let's just say you find one daycare provider, and that person has 10 students. Okay. I mean, that's pretty common for at least to have a minimum of 10, just even a home, even obviously a center's got way more, but let's just at a bare minimum, 10 students, one provider, and you charge 75 per month per kiddo. That is $750, my friends, with just your very first one, right? We're not talking a 47 a month kiddo, and then like, oh, I got to get so many kiddos to, get 47 bucks a month or whatever. Holy cow, like this really adds up. And then get those people happy, get some testimonials, have them refer a friend, maybe get some discount somehow or a referral fee or something, because I bet they know other daycare providers. And
Yeah,
then boom, we just start picking up. So I think the referral fee, do you do referral fees or referral credits or
I don't, but that is a really good idea.
because every daycare provider knows each other. And unless they're on the same block, well, they're a little bit competitive, aren't they though?
I
Maybe.
think it really depends.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't know, it's hit or miss.
Yeah. The
So
good news is they're probably in a Facebook group with other daycare providers that live nowhere close to them.
yep,
So technically, they probably do know other daycare providers. They don't have to live close to them. And because you can offer worldwide services, you know, Maryland can talk to Pennsylvania friend and get a referral fee. I'd pay them. Like I'd say, hey, bring me somebody and you get X amount, whatever that makes sense, something to get them excited about. I'd say like $100 at minimum, just
yeah,
to get them excited about talking about you. Um, as long as that person signs up. And then you didn't spend any money for the marketing because you got money and then you just used that money to pay a referral fee.
yeah.
Win-win.
I was trying to get this little Zoom thing to play, but it doesn't like me right now either. So.
Okay. And Lakisha also talked about how whenever she's talking to the childcare providers, she'll show them pictures or video clips, to kind of like show, hey, this is what it's going to look like when you enroll in our program. So cool. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, that's pretty much it. I don't think I think well the biggest thing that you want to focus on is you want them to feel comfortable. You don't want them to feel like it's a sale. Nobody likes for things to be sold to them. And
Yeah.
so if you go in like, oh, I'm gonna make this sale, you're not gonna make it because that's not what they want.
Yeah.
And then you need to remember that, depending on what it is that you're charged or you're offering, your prices need to be reflective of that, especially for the home daycares. It is really hard.
Mhm.
I some of my families were discounted initially because they were with me from last year, and so we kept the rate from last year. And then my other families came coming in, their rates were different, and then again my rates fluctuate. So you honestly you have the potential to make over 30,000 a month. I'm gonna say
Mhm.
that, and you have the potential to make it very easily,
Now,
um,
wait. Did you say 30,000 a month or 30,000 a year?
a month.
You have the potential to make over $30,000 a month doing this. Hello. Let's keep our eyes open on this idea, huh?
It's not hard. So
Wow.
I'm not going to disclose
Yeah, yeah.
all of mine, but I'm going to say that you absolutely have the potential to make over
Wow.
30,000 a month, and you have the potential to make it very easily by doing things that you're really passionate about.
That's
And if
awesome.
you are reaching out to the programs, if you can find what their problems are and you can provide a solution, then you won basically. Um, and if they're not comfortable or they're on the fence, show them a demo or share a pre-recorded session that you've done with someone else so that they can see what it looks like, and
Mhm.
or offer them to join at a discounted rate or something like that so that you can see if you can get them in the door. Because if you can get them in the door and you can keep their program intrigued, then they're probably going to stick around. All my programs that I had last year, I have this year, but I also have additional programs and I have additional families. And then we have, like I said, the separate side where we do
Mm.
sessions where we're recording what we've done and we're sending those out to families that can't be on. And so it may be different for everybody. You may not have to have, like I do both. I have in person and live all at the same time. And that can be really complicated for some people. For us, it's kind of normal. It's our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're already doing it with our kids, so why not turn on the camera?
Yeah.
So it's fun. Yeah. Just try
Nice.
to make it creative and fun, and as long as you're not expecting their kids to stay seated the whole time or stay quiet the whole time, then I think they're gonna enjoy it. If you go in expecting that, they're gonna feel insulted
Mhm.
because that's not realistic for
Yep.
most programs, especially for home daycares with mixed ages.
Mhm.
They're never gonna be quiet. They're
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
bunch of
that's gonna put too much stress on the provider to keep them quiet, and they don't want that, so
yeah. So and you definitely want it to be fun. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think
Awesome.
that everybody has the potential to do it. If you're doing virtual already, then you definitely have the potential to tap in to that market because it's there and they need it.
Yeah.
And the schools are not making it any easier for the so they're
Right.
wanting to bring more quality into their program because they have these free 3 and free 4-year-old programs now.
Mm.
So if you're not doing programs like my program is ages 3 to 5.
Yeah.
However, because we do home daycare, some of those kids are really young. I have some 18-month-olds that are in our programs that are keeping up with our 2 and 3-year-olds in the programs because they've just been there.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out how to create something and modify it so that it meets all the ages within that one setting, then they're gonna listen better. But if you're only marketing for 4-year-olds and they have 18-month-olds and they have 2-year-olds, they're gonna be like, well, no, I'm not about to figure out how I'm gonna have this kid sit and I have
Yeah.
these other 6 kids or 7 kids. Like it needs to be for all or for none. And so if
Mhm.
you just want to make sure that you keep that in mind if you're focusing on the home daycares. If you're focusing on the center, it's easier to focus on one age group. So I guess it really
Right.
depends on what your focus is.
Yeah, that's a good point, a good differentiator there. The last thing I wanted to make a note of was, you're talking about, shipping out materials and worksheets and all sorts of stuff, and I know you produce your own curriculum. Quick
Mhm.
reminder to all of our preschool all-stars, you get access to our fundamentals preschool curriculum, and so you absolutely can print out those worksheets and send them out to the families that you enroll, through the daycare. So you can do that, and you can add in your arts and crafts materials for the arts and craft for that week. So you've got a lot of that work done for you too.
You
But
have a cricket, ladies. I
with
know a
crickets,
bunch of
yeah.
you have crickets. I've been saying that I'm going to do a training on crickets. I did a class with a lot of the ladies in the Sisters Accountability Group, and I showed them my curriculums and just all the different things that I do in kits. And I keep saying I'm going to do just a Zoom with how to use your cricket. You ladies can do your bulletin boards. You can do your art activities. Like it cuts it off for you. You don't have to sit
Mhm.
with scissors. I cut it off on my cricket and then I just ship it through my laminating machine and then I
Yeah.
take it back to the cricket mat and let it cut it again.
Nice. I love that.
So
All right. Well, Lakeisha, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Awesome. You too.